As Randy said, my name is Nir. As he mentioned, I'm from Israel, which means that I took about 48 hours to get rid of the jet lag, which is fine because today is Thursday already. I'm going to talk about Asterisk security lockdown. What does that mean? It means that sometimes Fail2Ban, as much as we all like it, anybody here not using Fail2Ban? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got about, I'd say about 5% of the room is not using Fail2Ban for any reason other than, whatever they decide not to use it. Most Asterisk people, most VoiceOver people will use Fail2Ban. Simply because it's there, it's simple to use, and it provides about 99% of the protection that you really need. Problem is, there are situations where Fail2Ban just doesn't cut it. It doesn't cut it because it doesn't fit, or simply because somebody like me comes along and makes your life really difficult. So, yeah, I know. So just about myself, yes, I do have a life. Other than Asterisk and open source, yes, I admit it. I openly admit it. I've been an open source evangelist since about 1996, which means that in this world, I'm fairly old. I won't go into that. Just a few boring facts. So, Fail2Ban, good or bad? Good! Fail2Ban is good! Yeah, in general, it is good. If you're some, pardon my English, low-life IT manager working out of Hicksville, God knows where, and you've got a small Asterisk server with 10 people, yes, Fail2Ban will do the job for you. You got a bigger installation, such as IP-centrics, and you've got people coming in from all over the place. You have no idea where they are. Everybody says Fail2Ban is the right tool for you. You get attacked, you block it. Anybody seen a Fail2Ban list on an IP-centrics environment? How long it is? I've seen one go up to about 10,000 lines. You know what happens from IP tables when you get that big? No fun. In other words, if you're working in an IP-centrics environment, I can turn your Fail2Ban into a DDoS attack. And I've done it, just to prove a point. In Israel, for example, cable operators do not utilize any type of authentication in order to give you an IP address. It's full DHCP. So technically speaking, I can go and put whatever IP number I want on my modem and be done with it. So I created a script, changes my IP address, takes an IP-centrics provider in Israel, it goes dun dun dun, that IP is gone, dun dun dun, that IP is gone. After a day, a full Class B network is disconnected from that service. Nobody can do anything simply because I'm changing IPs all the time. So, Fail2Ban, wonderful, great for an office. If you're a service provider, not that nice. I can see JR now smiling and going, I just ruined your talk, didn't I? No, I'm kidding. Okay, so is there a better solution than Fail2Ban? And the answer is there is no magic solution. Yesterday we were sitting in the Camilio booth, we were presenting, and people come up to me and tell me, hey, can I take Camilio as an SBC? So the answer is no, because it's not an SBC, whether you like it or not. There's no magic solution. There is no magic solution to any problem in the IT world, specifically in the voice over IP world. What we do have is a set of paradigms. We have a set of paradigms that if you follow these to the letter, and when I mean follow, don't cut corners, do as it says, you will have a very secure system, even without Fail2Ban or any firewall on your system. So what are these paradigms actually? Well, what am I talking about? Because up till now I've been more or less flapping my gums around here. So, sip.conf. How many of you are doing exactly what's written on the slide? Raise your hand. How many of you are configuring your SIP devices as numbers only? Raise your hand. 1, 2, more. So either the others are saying, "No, I'm going to refrain from answering right now because I may get insulted, or I'm afraid," or they're doing something else. So it's enough when you go about and you work with your device numbers, your device names as numbers, you can actually, somebody can go about and create an enumeration attack and scan all your devices. Just, it takes a single SIP invite to see if something exists or not. And a single SIP register to know if it's a 401 or a 407. So it's there. It's available through the protocol. The protocol enables these attacks, these enumeration attacks. Now, sure, you can configure Asterisk to respond differently in case of an attack. How many of you have done so? So we're talking about 15% out of a whole room of about 60 people, 60, 70 people are in here. I can take SIP Vicious and create a very smart enumeration attack that will never be detected and go about and get whatever I want from any PBX. So the answer in this case is make life really problematic. Here's a very funky paradigm. I've been using it, it works really well. First of all, let's start from the back, from the last point. Who uses free PBX around here? Who uses something else? Okay, so there are half of the people not using anything. Great. So if you're using free PBX, make sure you're using device and user configuration, not extensions. It's very easy to do. Just go into to amportal.conf. In there, just change that. At that point, start naming your devices in a random fashion. What does that mean? Make your device name partially an extension number, let's say 1001, and add a random text to it. Just generate 8 characters. You're going to make life for SIP vicious scripts, hackers, really complicated because it's really crazy to go for somebody to do that. You want to make life even crazier? Use an automatic provisioning system to change that random string every day. We're going to talk about that in a bit. Numeric part, your extension numbers, don't do 3 digits. Everybody knows 3 digits. 4 digits, 5 digits with a random part. Random part should be the minimum 8 characters. Lowercase, uppercase numbers, anything goes. Just make sure it's there. Example. This has been taken from one of my systems. I will tell you about this, one of these systems later on, but make sure your password is complex. Now, what is complex? I love the people who go about and create passwords utilizing some kind of automatic generator. That's wonderful. Automatic password generator. You go about, take 12-digit string, 12-character string. Problem is completely unmanageable. Nobody knows what that means. Utilizing something like this is what's called leet code. Anybody know what leet code is? We have 2, 3 old people in the crowd. Leet code is the old school hackers writing. E equals 3, L equals 1, T equals 7, blah, blah, just very simple character replacement. But you can create highly complex passwords with it. Just because you can. So make life complicated as possible. Nobody can enumerate this, even if they try to. They'll never be able to. Who disagrees? You disagree. Oh, you disagree with creating passwords like that? Okay, sorry. You know, that's entirely your prerogative. If you want to create something hackable, that's your prerogative, not mine. So, who disagrees with the above statement? Analog phones are bad. Nobody disagrees? What? Again, sorry? You don't use any, so they're not, you're ambivalent. Yeah, okay. Anybody use analog phones? What? Yeah. I'm not worried about faxes, and I'll tell you why in a second. I'll tell you why in a second. Because anybody familiar with capital T, lowercase t on dial command? Anybody has those on their dial command? Okay, how many of you have done the following horrifying mistake? How many of you? Nobody? One. Congratulations, you are being defrauded daily. That enables anybody who calls your PBX system from any kind of telephone line, be it SIP, be it analog, be it PRI, E1, T1, take your pick, enables them to go back and activate every function on the PBX using a transfer. Go in, dial in, press hash, go star 98, call forward. Yay. Go call forward extension 106 to 1900, premium number. Call back in, then initiate 30 calls into that system. You're going to rack up $4,000 in less than an hour. Question B. How many systems have I seen configure with that? One? A lot. I've done a test about 2 weeks ago, just in Israel. I decided to take 1,000 access numbers that I knew were into various Asterisk PBX systems, and I wrote a simple script that goes about, dials in and tries to key in a DTMF hash, and then go star 98 and create a call forwarding. Out of 1,000 systems, I got 648 hits. And why is that? Because most of the installers or most of the integrators around the world have no idea how Asterisk works. They don't understand what that means, outbound dial command. They just know that the customer needs call forwarding, needs to call transfer from an analog phone. Capital T, lowercase t, who cares? Just put it in there, it'll work. This is exactly the point. It's like the stupidest thing people do, but it's out there in the wild. Many people do it simply because they don't understand what it means. You know, going about and downloading Elastics, free PBX, PBX in the flash, off the internet, great. How many people do you really know that know how to use any of these tools to its full extent? Understand each and every bit of meaning behind every parameter? Very few. So, if you do have to use analog phones, don't put those parameters in at all. If you do, make sure you do it properly. Don't just go capital T, lowercase t, and just like that. Number two, if you must use analog phones, and you're using some kind of ATA adapter, make sure you use one that is good enough to do the transfer on its own, not using capital T and lowercase t, simply because it's bad. It's the wrong way of doing it. SIP is fully capable of doing transfers. Use that capability. It's not because the transfer capability inside Asterisk is insecure. It's secure enough. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's simply because people use it in the wrong way. Sorry. You mentioned faxes. Faxes don't have these problems. I'm not familiar with any fax that's supposed to do call transfer to somebody else. A fax is usually the endpoint that's supposed to answer. So I'm not worried about faxes. Any of you doing these? Direct interconnects? One, what is a direct interconnect? Okay, so how many of you have done this? Look at the configuration. Tell me what is wrong. What? Okay, the first person who understands who tells me what's wrong with this gets 5 pieces of candy. We'll walk up here and gets 5 pieces of candy. Yeah.
From internal context, I think is the biggest problem, that you're treating them as an internal part of the system and you're not. They get access to everything.
Coming up here, you just gained yourself 5. Okay, you got in there? Okay, that's right. I've seen this in the wild thousands of times. 2 companies go about and say, oh, we trust each other, from internal, their internal space, your internal space, everything becomes really nice. Why? Is there any reason to do anything as moronic as that? Simply because it's there and it's simple to use? No, don't do this. This is ridiculous. Any of you done this? Come on, be frank. Anyone willing to admit it? Last year we had one person stand up saying, I got hit for $400,000. This is how you do it. Create a custom context. Go about, just put it somewhere else and filter everything out. What doesn't need to be there, doesn't need to be there. Don't let them do whatever they want. The previous example enables anybody in any company just go, hey, let's dial through them. Why not? I'll push my phone bill over there. Oh, sure, I've got unlimited. Yeah, why not? Yeah, everybody's got unlimited today. Anybody here not using unlimited call plans? Well, Voxbone doesn't count, you know. But in Israel, for example, all the major carriers are now giving unlimited call plans. What they forget to mention is that you get, unlimited call plans in Israel include all local prefixes in Israel, including mobile and landline. That's wonderful. What they don't tell you that the prefix 0542 is not in Israel. It looks exactly like a normal mobile number in Israel, but it's actually in the Palestinian Authority. It costs like 20 cents a minute. Yay. Most admins in Israel don't know that. And they'll just let anybody dial wherever they want. I'm confident that here in the US there are what's called rural CLECs, which cost a bit more to call, and I'm confident that everybody's doing this mistake over and over and over and over again. Static configs are so 1990s. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It looks like a normal NPA, but actually it's somewhere else, and it's very expensive to do so. Yeah, the dollar spaces. So, why am I saying static configs are so 1990s? Anybody here using static configuration files to provision their phones? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have about 4 people using static configuration files. Now, why do you use static configuration files? Cheap and dirty. That's the plain, simple answer. So what is the problem with static configuration files? They're static. They don't change. They don't evolve. So if you're using, let's say, some kind of insecure methodology of pushing your configuration files, let's say TFTP. TFTP is usually anonymous TFTP. You go in, take the file, MAC address, fine. So you're thinking to yourself, a MAC address, come on, who is going to find out my MAC addresses? Oh, trust me, they're looking for it. They got generators going in, issuing commands, and they'll find whatever they want. And if they find your provisioning server, and because it's open on the internet, then they will take in configuration files, and now you have no way of actually distinguishing between a fraudster and a legitimate user because he's using your configuration file just because he can. Okay, so we already know the static configuration files from your provisioning server is bad, and we know the non-authenticated provisioning is highly insecure because it's publicly available and anybody can go about and hack it. And using non-encrypted provisioning is very insecure. Most IP phones these days, most devices that support automatic provisioning do utilize encrypted protocols, such as at HTTPS. So what can you do to go about and secure that part? So first of all, auto-configure everything and auto-configure nothing. That means everything is generated on the fly. If you're using an auto provisioning tool, have that one connected to your actual FreePBX database and modify the passwords as you go. Have the provisioning tool set up a configuration file that reboots the phone every other day to change the password, to change the username. You can do that. These are not things which are out of this world complicated. No, these are simple tools. They're out there. Nobody uses these paradigms simply because they're lazy. Okay? How many of you, over the course of the day, dream about the possibility of sitting down, pardon my English, ass down, legs up with a newspaper and just do nothing? Nobody one brave man admits it. Yes. Another brave man admits it, because that's what we all want. At the end of the day, we're all fairly lazy. That's because that's human nature. We can't do anything about it. We want the mellow back and just sit down and let the system work and make sure it works right. But the problem is that when we're lazy, the hackers are not. They're driven by different force, not laziness, but spite. We can, then we'll show them. Okay, so as I said, access to the phishing server should be done through HTTPS. Always encrypted. Change your passwords on a periodical basis, 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, a month, doesn't matter. Just make sure you change those. If you are able also to change your device names on the fly, that's even better. That creates a moving target. That means your PBX now is completely dynamic. Nobody can find out anything. That's a completely moving target. And there is nothing that hackers hate more than a moving target. Simply because once you see it, then you don't. Now, I'm standing up here, and I'd say that I don't like declaring that somebody or anybody is an authoritative source on anything. So I always say no one knows everything, not even me. I admit it. I don't know everything. And keeping your system secure, this is just what it's like. Hitting a can of soda, moving on a rail while you're traveling on a train doing 140 miles per hour. If you give me one guy who can do that, he's a lucky guy. Or he's a really good crack shot. But in any case, that is what it means to secure your system. Now, we all go about every morning. This is what most of you, their morning starts like this. You wake up, go to have breakfast, go to the office. First thing, VoIP info. Nothing new. VoIP news. Nothing new. Okay. /. Interesting. Okay. Maybe bug track. Maybe a few other security things. And then you go about your normal day-to-day work, right? Have I got it right? Anybody follow that route? Not following that route? Okay. So we cannot be up to date all the time. Utilize somebody else who's taken upon himself to do that thing, to be updated, and to figure out what can go wrong. And sometimes, if you can, find somebody who's a little malicious, who doesn't play by the rules. Because usually they will go in and think, how can I exploit that? Okay? You go on bug track, you can read, emails on the list which are amazing. People are sitting there thinking of, that variable has only 32 spaces inside the malloc. How can I exploit that? Who knows? But bear in mind that somebody will at some point. Now, I know that nobody here likes bureaucracy, policies, paperwork. How many of you hate paperwork? Raise your hand if you hate paperwork. Yeah, we all hate paperwork. Sorry, I'm very sorry to say you have to use paperwork in order to manage your system. Somebody wants to change something, make it documented. Don't just go about click, 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 here you go, fine. Make sure you document it. Yeah, as I said. Proof of paradigms. Now, up until now, I've been more or less flapping my gums, telling you to do stuff that seems completely out of this world in order to protect your systems. Now, in order to prove these, in April 2012, I've initiated 4 different servers on Amazon EC2, completely open to the public. They were completely open, apart from SSH and MySQL, they were completely open. I had one in US East, one in US West, one in Singapore, one in Japan. These are the 4 primary Amazon EC2 data centers, what they call zones. Each server got about anything between 10,000 to 12,000 attacks on a daily basis. Registration attempts, invite attempts, whatever you want. I've used these paradigms on these machines to see if somebody is able to even get in. If they're able to register and push a call, I'll get a CDR from it. I'll get something out of it. Specifically because I set up the dial plan to send me an event over to an Isinga server. So I knew that if something happens, I'll know about it. I'm still waiting. Passwords are being recycled every 48 hours. Usernames are being, the random part, are being recycled every 24 hours. Yeah. Oh, sorry, thought there was a question. So there is proof in this. Yeah. I had compromised other hosts apart from these 4. Just to prove a point, but that's something else. Let's take a look a bit. I know this is not directly related to all of you, but could be related to some. But let's take a look 2 years into the future. So how many of you are familiar with what's called Sarbanes-Oxley compliance? You have one? Oh, so we have quite a few people. Okay, Sarbanes-Oxley Act, Section 404. Can somebody tell me what that is? What? Oh, we know what SOX is. 404? Isn't that HTTP bad page? Not found? Well, unfortunately, SOX Section 404 exists. It's not an error. It actually dictates what has to be done inside an enterprise that is traded, publicly traded, in regards to IT compliance, IP security compliance, and whatever you have to do in terms of if you get hacked, cyber attacked, your systems get compromised, you have to report it to your shareholders, you have to report it to the stock exchange. If there were implications on that are on a financial base, you're going to get hit left, right, and center. So right now, Section 404 does not cover telecom fraud, does not cover telephony-related incidents, but we project that in the next 2 years, that will be added in. We are already seeing things that are happening in the UK, in Europe, that are moving towards that entity. For example, in the UK, there is a new law, and maybe Tim can either correct me or what? Don't go there? Don't mention it? Oh, so where's James? Oh, he's not here. So basically, there's a law in the UK that dictates that any financial institute or any institute that has any relation to financial transactions, being banks, insurance companies, brokers, stock exchange, anything, all phone calls, data, SMS, messaging, anything has to be recorded on your landline phone, office phone, mobile phone, any type of communications has to be recorded. It had been fax as well. This is called the Compliancy Act in the UK. There are companies springing out over there just to figure out how to do it right. It's now slowly creeping into the European Union. And I expect that in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, it will creep into the Sarbanes-Oxley Act here in the US, simply because everybody will do it. For more information, you're welcome to visit any of these websites or contact us either by mail or by phone. Yes, I am available by phone, amazingly enough, if you're willing to call Israel or the UK. Questions? A good question will get you a candy. Yeah.
Have you ever put in one of those 20 or 30 or 50 cent a minute phones in your presentation at the end just to see if anybody calls it?
Which?
You know how people send you an SMS
I'm missing your point. Where's the question?
I was wondering if you've done that at the end of your presentation as your phone number and seen if anybody had called it.
I had people call in after a presentation to my phone numbers. Yeah. Oh, these are not premium numbers. These are normal, international, available numbers. No. Yeah. Any more questions? Apart from, are you a fraudster?
He explained that you want somebody who's malicious and thinks out of the box. It's his own description.
Yeah, sorry.
You were talking about automatically generating username and password.
Where are you? Yeah, okay, sorry.
Automatically, dynamically generating usernames and passwords. What are you using to do that?
Well, in that specific case, I was just using a cron job, using a simple PHP script to do it. Nothing more complex than that. You don't have to take extreme measures. The actual changing of that random part, that 8 characters, is enough to create something really unique. You don't have to go to extreme measures in order to create those. Those are fairly easy to do. Yeah.
For following those practices, you're basically advocating not using Fail2Ban then at all on those systems.
No, I'm not advocating not to use it at all. I'm saying that in some circumstances, Fail2Ban just doesn't cut it. If you're an IP-centric provider, you cannot use Fail2Ban because if somebody, let's say, I wanted to say as malicious as I am, or as creepy as I am, I will go in just for spite, and I'll make sure that I'm going to block like a full Class A network out of your system, and now you're going to get customers calling in. My phone doesn't work. Your service is shit, man. And what are you going to do with that? You're going to go into your Fail2Ban system now has a full Class A network blocked with specific IP numbers. So you're going to go in and look at that. That will have like what? 256,000 lines?
Well,
Sorry, just a bit more.
I guess one other suggestion that wasn't really mentioned that maybe should, we've actually started implementing access lists even on remote users and road warriors to have like a connection into a VPN first and get in, and that seems to eliminate a lot of problems too.
That can eliminate some of the problems, although I've noticed that VPN usage in some cases, depending on what edge device you're using, can degrade your performance. For example, I had people utilizing the old net screens that didn't handle SIP that well, and I got all kinds of funky stuff. And also, just a second, it'll come to me, with SonicWall, which is now basically Dell, also had some issues. So yes, you can do that, but honestly saying, I don't like the idea of somebody going about VPNing stuff. If you want to do what's called an IP VPN at the infrastructure level, that's fine. Yeah.
This will have to be our last question unless
Okay.
nobody wants to ever take a break.
Okay.
Go ahead, shout it out.
Shout out.
What do you think of the implementation of IPv6 should it ever happen?
Oh, God.
And its impact on security?
Well, IPv6 brings a lot of new ideas in terms of security. I hadn't dug into it, to be honest, simply because IPv4 gives me enough grief as is. I have enough worries. But let's put it that in words that say, yes, I believe that it will add some layer of security in some form, but because I'm already seeing people trying to exploit IPv6 infrastructures and all kinds of attacks in that space, then I don't know what the future will bring. If it will be more susceptible or not, it's a good question. I hadn't seen that many implementations of IPv6 with voice over IP yet. So, got no straight answer for that. Sorry.
Because we are running a little short,
Yeah.
Nir, my good friend Nir, let's hear it for him. He's a great presenter, great topic.
Thanks.